Alright guys, today I'll be reviewing Skyrush at Hershey Park. This is the Intamin Hyper Coaster here, and it's actually technically a wing coaster because of those wing seats, which I will definitely get into later, why those are so vital to this ride. But basically, it's a phenomenal coaster. It's one of my top three coasters I've ever ridden. So in this review, I'll explain everything you need to know about Skyrush. This ride has the best setting of any roller coaster at Hershey Park because it's right over the creek. The entire ride is so scenic. You also have Comet kind of interacting with it, not really, but it's also a nice touch. And if you don't know about the Skyrush pathway to get a great view of it and to just get to Skyrush first, then definitely learn about it. Basically, it's pretty much parallel to Candemonium's turnaround in the end of that. So look to the right of that, and you'll find it. It's kind of small, but it's definitely worth going down there at least once. The line for this ride usually isn't very long. However, if you wait for the front row, and the split off point for the front and the rest of the rows is very early in the queue actually compared to when it usually is. So you can definitely just keep lapping it in the back row or any row really besides the front. But if you want that front, which trust me, you don't want the front, then you're going to have to wait a lot longer. If you see like an hour long wait for this thing on the app, it's probably for the front row because most of the time I could just walk right onto the back row, which is where you want to be for this ride. This ride is nothing in the front row, all right? It's not even in my top 10 if you're in the front row. If you're in the back or second to back, though, it's my number 3 overall. It's such a big difference. I cannot emphasize how much you need the back rows for this ride. And yes, the wing seats are important, but in my opinion, front versus back is a way bigger difference than middle seat versus wing seat. Now, speaking of those wing seats, yes, you obviously want a wing seat. It's way more exposed, way more freeing, and just overall way better ride experience. You're getting a lot more whip on everything, and it really comes down to personal preference which seat you like. I personally like left seat, but I know some people who like right, not many though. So I feel like back left wing seat is most people's favorite seat on this ride. But again, try out all of them, at least in the back row, just so you can know which one you like. Now, you're going to start off with one of the fastest, if not the fastest, lift hill in the world. I would be surprised if it's not the fastest lift hill in the world. This thing hauls to the top. Like, it legit feels like a launch. I almost would count it as a launch, even though it's obviously not a launch. But yeah, you fly up there, you barely have time to take in the view, and you're going to slow down a bit at the top, which is all right because this first drop is disgusting. Like, if you've seen my shorts or really any of my super recent videos, you'll probably know that this drop is my favorite single element of all time. Now, I will admit, I threw a five's triple snaps are still my favorite sequence of elements of all time, but that's 3 snaps taken in a row with crazy intense turns in between them. This is just one single element that hits you so hard. Like, you can't even imagine how hard this drop hits. Basically, you can't see when it's going to happen because you're obviously cresting over the drop. You get a bit of airtime. It kind of feels like a bit stronger than Candemonium's airtime, which isn't very strong. So it's like you're halfway down the drop and you're thinking to yourself, this drop's kind of meh. It's all right. But then out of nowhere, and you can't see when it's going to happen, this thing launches you into the stratosphere. And it's truly unlike anything else I've ever experienced and probably ever will experience because the airtime on this, I kind of explained what like an airtime blackout for me is in my Twisted Timbers review on the Trick Track Double Up. This feels like a way stronger version of the Trick Track Double Up, and that was the strongest moment of airtime I've ever felt up until this point. And that's including rides like El Toro, Steel Vengeance, etc. So, oh my god, this thing's devious. Watch out for it. So then you're going to hit a low turn. This dishes out some good positives. You're going to head over the first of two camelbacks. I'm not going to lie, I was a little underwhelmed with these camelbacks. They're definitely not as good as El Toros. They're a bit less sustained and definitely not as strong. You're then going to go through the most intense part of the ride, I would say. It's this low to the ground turn right by the water, great visuals, and I'd almost gray out here every time. It was a near gray out. And then you're going to hit the second camelback, about the same strength as the first one. Again, a little underwhelming, but that's fine because what comes after is the first stangle dive. These stangle dives are my second favorite parts of the ride. The first one is amazing. You just get completely folded over to the left side, and this is why you want to be on the left wing seat, in my opinion. The stangle dives are a bit more intense here. So that first one's crazy. Then you're actually going to kind of get laterals almost reminiscent of like a Wild Mouse or the Beast, where the train's banking to the right, but you still kind of fold over to the left because it's not too banked, but you'll eventually come back over to the right, only to get absolutely thrown to the left. This is the strongest moment of laterals on the ride, and probably the strongest moment of laterals on any coaster, period, besides I-305 and maybe DC Rivals with that non-inverting loop. Your body is not ready for this, and with those lap bar restraints, you're just folded over, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's amazing. You hit another little ejector hill. I almost compare this to like a weaker Rolling Thunder hill. It's somewhere in between the strength of like Ride of Steel's second camelback and the Rolling Thunder hill, so it's definitely good, but not up there with the Rolling Thunder hill like some people might lead you to believe. Then you're kind of going to hit another turnaround, which folds you over to the left, giving you lateral hang time because you're going so slow, and then you hit the brakes. This ride has awful pacing, I will say that right now. It crawls at the end, but that almost works to its favor because you get crazy lateral hang time at the end, so I don't mind. Smoothness, it's butter smooth, and of course we have to talk about the trains because everyone likes to dog on those. I love these trains. I know I'm in the minority there, but I would actually take these over the B&M clamshell trains because here's why. The lap bars, I don't mind the lap bars at all. I don't think they take away from the ride one bit, and just the seats themselves, especially on a wing seat, just the feeling of being that exposed is so fun. You can't really get that on any other ride this extreme. So that's why I like these trains more than the B&M trains, which I know is controversial, but that's my opinion at least. So for Skyrush's final score out of 1,000, I am giving it a 992. This is my number 3 coaster overall right now. The only two that are better than it for me are Steel Vengeance and I-305, and it's not far behind Steel Vengeance and I-305. It is a work of art. They better not touch this thing with a trim brake or reprofiled turn or anything, I swear. But anyways, that's my review of Skyrush at Hershey Park. Let me know what you guys saw of this video down in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.